Okay, so students, so we can start with the passage based questions. Okay, as you know, in the recent CLAT exams, if you're just going with the trend, for the last 3 to 4 years, they have been asking these passage based questions for a CLAT exam. So, what we are going to do is we are going to start off with some of the passages that are being usually asked, or the that type of passages which will be useful for you in the upcoming exams as well. Okay, so I hope that you have seen the last videos of our percentage, average, and ratios, because that concepts will be the basics of that will be crucial for us in the questions that we are going to discuss. Okay, so wasting no time, we are going to start with this passages. So first, what we can do is go through the first passage. Okay, so as you can see, this is a passage. So first, what you can do is just read the passage well. Okay, so what we are going to do, or just getting an idea of this, is basically they have given a passage, and based on that, they will be asking or 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 questions at max. Okay, so what you have to do is this data usually when it comes to data interpretation, the basic form, as we might have studied, is the pie chart form or the bar graph form or the line graph form. There, where the picture is being given or the data are given in the picture form, and we have to just looking at that, we have to, what we have to do, we have to just solve the questions. So here the difference is that they have given the conditions or given the data in the form of a paragraph. So what you have to do is you have to convert this into a form that we can understand easily, and based on that, what we have to do, we have to do the questions. Okay, so it might take a few just doing it when you are just starting with these types, it might take a bit more time, but that's not a worry, because if you're just getting an idea of it, it will be easier for you. If you're just completing 2 or 3 sets, I think you'll be comfortable with this type. Okay, so make sure that first you read everything and then try to uh, convert it into a tabular form that will uh, make it easier for you when dealing with the questions. Okay, so first we can just go through this. So what they have told, if you're just reading it first, they have told that automobiles are the most preferable mode of transport. Okay, because they allow us to cover large distance quickly. Resultantly, vehicles have been developed that run on diesel, petrol, and even on electricity. Okay, so which is a remarkable innovative development. So during the survey about the percentage-wise distribution of cars in 4 different states, the information ratio between the engine cars, petrol engine cars, and electric cars was collected. Okay, the number of cars for which data was collected was 8,000. Okay, of these, state 1 has 15% of the total number of cars in the ratio of 3 is to 4 is to 1. In the bracket they have given, as you can see, is diesel, petrol, and electric. Okay, and state 2 had 20% of the total number of cars in the ratio of 5 is to 3 is to 2. Okay, and state 3 has 30% of the total number of cars, and they have given the ratio as 4 is to 5 is to 3. Okay, and the last part is the state 4, which they have told that it contains 35% of the total number of cars, and the ratio given is 7 is to 5 is to 2. Okay, so I think just reading it at the start, you might have got what the data exactly has meant. Okay, so what they have basically given is that they have given 4 states as we can see. Okay, in that 4 states, what they have done is they have just given the total number of cars in that particular state. Okay, in that, how many are diesel cars, petrol cars, and electric cars, they have given in the ratio form. So what we are going to do is we have to convert that into a value form. Okay, so what we can do, we can just, as we said, we can just draw a tabular graph. Okay, or a table. So what we can do, we can just place it as state. Okay, state 1, as we can just place it, state 1 is there. Okay, then, state 1, state 2, state 3 is there, and we have a state 4. Okay. Now what they have given, we know that, so we can just draw it. So here what we can do, we can place total cars in every state. Okay. Here what we can do, we can just place the number of diesel cars here. Okay. Then petrol cars as well in the second column, and in the last column we can place the number of electric cars. Okay, yeah. So we can just divide it to get a better understanding. Okay. So in the first statement, as we read, okay, so total data collected is 8,000. So they have collected. That means the total number of cars in this sort of paragraph based DI is 8,000. Okay. So if we're just going for the first state A, what they are told, it has 15% of total number of cars. Okay. So we know total cars here is 8,000 and 15% of 8,000 is what? We're just calculating it. What is 15% of 8,000? Okay, if we're just cancelling out the 100, we are getting 15 into 80. So as we know, 15 into 8 is 120. 80 times will give us 1,200. Okay, so we understood that out of 8,000 cars, 1,200 cars are of state A. Okay. Now in that the ratio is what? 3:4:1. Okay. So as we know, as we have already studied in the ratio part, as we know the total ratio has to give us 1,200 here. Okay. Because the cars are basically a combination of diesel, petrol and engine cars here. So if we're just adding these three ratios here, okay, we're just adding 3, 4 and 1, what you are getting? 3 plus 4 plus 1 is going to give us 8 ratio. So as we understood that 8 ratio here is equal to what? Yeah, it is equal to 1,200 here. So as we know, 1 ratio will give us what? Then 1 ratio will give us 1,200 divided by 8. So just dividing it, what you are going to get? We are going to get the value as 150. Okay. So we got 1 ratio as 150 here. Now just so here 3:4:1 is the ratio. So as we know, diesel car is 3 ratio. We know 1 ratio here is 150. So obviously 3 ratio has to be what? 3 ratio will be, if 1 ratio is 150, 3 ratio has to be 3 times of 1 ratio. So 150 into 3 is going to give us what? 450. Okay, so we understood that the diesel cars in state A is what? 450. Okay. Likewise, petrol cars are in the ratio of 4. So we know 1 ratio is 150. So I think you will be comfortable now. So 4 ratio has to be what? 4 times of 150. That has to be what? 600. Okay. Now we know electric cars are 1 ratio here. So 1 ratio we are already found out in the first part. So 150 will be coming. Okay. So we have got the data for state A. That means they have a total of 1,200 cars. In that 450 are diesel, 600 are petrol and 150 is electric. Okay. Now I would just like you to pause the video and try to find out the data for the next 3 states. Okay, and then just unpause the video and just check if your or the data you have found out is right or wrong. Okay, that will make your concept bit more or your concept will be a bit more clear if you are doing this way. Okay, so hope that you pause the video and try to find out the other data and just unpause it and try to see if your data is right or wrong. Okay, yeah. Now moving on. Now what we are going to do is we are going to find it for state 2 now. Okay. Okay. So state 2, as we can see, state 2 has what? 20%. Okay. Just rubbing off the state 1 part. Okay. Now we are focusing on state 2. Okay. So state 2, as we can see, it has 20% of total cars. So as we know, total cars is 8,000. 20% of 8,000 is what? 20% of 8,000 will give us what? We're just cancelling out the 100. So 80 into 20, as we know, will give us 1,600. Okay, so we understood that state 2 has 1600 cars, and now the ratio here is what? 5 is to 3 is to 2. So as we know, the sum of these ratios should be equivalent to what? 1600. Just adding these three ratios is going to give us what? 5, 3, 2. Adding that will give us 10 ratio. So we understood here that 10 ratio is equivalent to what? 1600 here. Okay. So 1 ratio will be what here? 1 ratio has to be 160. Okay. Now diesel is 5 ratio. So if 1 ratio is 160, 5 ratio has to be what? 5 ratio has to be 5 times of 160. Okay. That is going to give us what? 800. Okay. So 800 is the number of diesel cars here. Okay, now 3 ratio will be what? 1 ratio as we know is 160. 3 ratio will be 3 times of 160. That is going to give us how much? 480. Okay. Now electric cars are 2 ratio. So as we know 1 ratio is 160. So 2 ratio has to be 2 times of 160. So that is how much? 320. Okay. So we have also got the data for state 2. Now moving on to state 3. Okay, I will just rubbing it off. Okay, now moving on to state. Okay, now moving on to state 3. Okay, now state 3, as we can see, it has 30% of total number of cars. So we know total cars is 8,000. So 30% of 8,000 is going to give us what? 30% of 8,000 is going to give us 2,400. Okay, 2,400. Now the ratio in state 3 is what? 4 is to 5 is to 3. So same way, if we just adding these three ratios, it should be equivalent to here 2,400. So just adding these three ratios going to give us what? 4 plus 5 plus 3. That is 12 ratio. Okay. So 12 ratio as we know is equivalent to 2,400 here. Okay, so 1 ratio will be what here? 1 ratio has to be 200. Okay, so if I have got the value for 1 ratio here, now just find the values of diesel, petrol and electric here. So as we just look, the diesel is 4 ratio here. So since 1 ratio is 200 here, 4 ratio has to be what? 4 ratio has to be 4 into 200, that is 800. Okay, so we have got the value there, 800. So diesel is 800 here. Now moving on for the next ratio, that is petrol, that is 5 ratio. So as we know 1 ratio is 200, so 5 ratio has to be what? 5 into 200, that is 1000. Okay, now the last one, electric, it is 3 ratio. Here 1 ratio is 200, so 3 ratio has to be what? 600. Okay, so I think we have got the data for state 3 as well. Now moving on to the last state, okay, then I think we can start off with the questions. Okay, now moving to the last state, that is state 4. Okay, now state 4, as we can see, it has 35% of total number of cars. So total cars as we know is 8,000. Okay, and 35% of 8,000 is what? Cancelling out the 100, 35 into 8. Okay, just multiply it. So 8 5s is 40, 24 plus 4 is going to give us 28. Okay, we have a 10 as well, so 2,800 is the total number of cars of state 4. Now the ratio here is 7 is to 5 is to 2. Okay, just adding on these three ratios is going to give us 14 ratio. So 14 ratio here is equivalent to 14 ratio is equivalent to what? 2,800. So as we know 1 ratio has to be what here? 2,800 by 14. So that is going to give us how much here? 200. Okay. So 1 ratio is 200. So the ratio of diesel here is 7. So since 1 ratio is 200, then 7 ratio has to be what? 7 into 200, that is 1,400. Okay, now going for the petrol, this 5 ratio, here 1 ratio is 200. So 5 ratio has to be what? 1,000. Okay. Now the last data is 2 ratio. So 2 ratio has to be, since 1 ratio here is 200, 2 ratio has to be what? 400. Okay. So we have done the most important part of this passage, that is to find out the data. Okay, so I hope that you got an understanding of how to approach these type of questions. So it is easy. Just first what we have to do, just read the passage at once, okay, so that you can get an idea of what the data is being given, and then try to convert that data into a form that will make your life easier when doing the questions. Okay, so I hope that you got it. Now I think we can move to the question part, okay, and try to solve the questions which been asked based on this passage. Okay, now moving on to the first question here. Yeah. So here what they have told, what is the question being asked? If 45 percentage of electric cars in state 4 are AC and the remaining are non-AC, then what is the number of non-AC cars? Okay. So they here what they have told is in state 4 how many electric cars are there? Out of that 45 are AC cars and the remaining are non-AC, and we have to find the number of non-AC cars here. Okay. So just going back to the data that we have already found out. So here what we need to get the data of state 4, and in that electric cars. So electric cars, as we can see here, is 400. Okay. Now moving on to that question once again. State 4 they have told 45% are AC cars and the remaining are non-AC. So we have to find the number of non-AC cars. As we have just seen, total AC electric cars here is 400. So in case of percentage, as we know, if 45 percentage are AC cars, then the remaining how much is there? As you know, in percentage the total is 100. So if 45 percentage here are AC cars, then the remaining 55 percentage has to be what? Okay, then the remaining 55 percentage has to be non-AC cars. So what do you have to do? The total electric cars in state 4, as we know, is 400. So 55 percentage of 400 is going to give us the answer. Okay, so just solving it, cancelling out the 100, 4 into 55 is going to give us what? 220. Okay, so the answer is right. So the answer for the first question here is option C, that is 220. Okay, so easy question. So I hope that you got it right. Okay, now moving on to the next one. The next question. So what they have asked here, the number of petrol cars in state 2 is how much percentage more than the number of diesel cars in state 1. Okay, so we know we need the data here of petrol cars in state 2 and we are comparing it with diesel cars in state 1. Okay, now just moving on, just finding out it. So petrol cars in state 2 and diesel cars in state 1. Okay, just going back to the data. So petrol cars in state 2 was 480. Okay, and we needed diesel cars of state 1, that is 450. So 480 and 450. Okay. Okay, so 480 and 450. Okay, so petrol cars in state 2. So it was 480. Okay, and diesel cars in state 1, as we just looked through the data, was 450. Okay, so here they have asked is what percentage more than. Okay, so we have already studied this concept in the basic class of our percentage. So there we had stressed out how we can find this if they are asking percentage more or percentage less. So we had already discussed the formula. Okay, so I will just repeating the formula: percentage more or percentage less. So anyhow, if it has been asked percentage more or percentage less, we had discussed the same formula for both the situations. So what was the formula? We said in the numerator part we have to find the difference, and the denominator part we had stressed on a word that was called than. Okay, so which data is set after than, the value which is set after than has to be taken in the denominator, then obviously this term has to be multiplied with 100. Okay, now we are just solving this here. So the two datas here which we are comparing are 480 and 450. So the difference is going to give us here what? 30. Okay, so just 30 will come here, divided by the value after than. If we just reading it, so after than they have told about, okay, So after that, they have given the data of diesel cars. Okay. So diesel car, the data is what here? 450. So you have to place the denominator, you have to place the value of diesel cars. Okay. Then obviously into 100. Okay. So just solving the values, just cancelling out with 10. Then what is common here? Yeah, 3 is common in both the terms. So if you're just cancelling out, it will come as 10 and 15. Now cancelling it with 5. Okay, so it will come 2 times and 3 times. So basically the data here is what you're getting is 20 by 3. 20 by 3 as we know is 6.67. Okay, so 6.67 it will come. So it is there in the option, so we can mark our answer here as option D, that is 6.67 percentage. Okay, so I hope that you got this question as well. So an important concept, okay, that how we can find percentage more or less. Okay, so if you just note down the formula if you are not aware of this concept, let's just take the difference in the numerator part. In the denominator part, as we stressed down the word which is called than, so you have to take the value which comes after than, okay, and then multiply it with 100 to get the answer. Okay. Okay. Now moving on to the next question, what they have asked here is what is the ratio of diesel cars in state 4 to the electric cars in state 3? So the ratio is being asked. So just finding out the data which we have already found out. So diesel cars in state 4 and electric cars in state 3. Okay. Just moving to the previous page where we have already found out the data. Okay. So what was being asked? So diesel cars in state 3. Just going back to the question once again. Just a second. Okay. So diesel cars in state 4, electric cars in state 3 and diesel cars in state 4. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So electric cars in state 3, that is 600, and diesel cars in state 4, that is 1400. Okay. So they have asked the ratio of these values. Okay. Okay. So first they have asked for diesel cars in state 4, as we saw it is 1400, and electric cars in state 3 was 600. Okay. So as you know how to find the ratio, but just cancel out the common values in both the values. So 100 is common in both the side. Okay. Now 14 and 6, what is common? 2 is common. So just cancelling out that, our answer here has to be 7:3. Okay. So the option is there. So option A is the right answer here, 7:3. Okay. So if in case of ratio, make sure that you just connect it in the way that they have been asked. So first they had asked for diesel cars in state 4. So that's why we place that value in the first position. Then electric cars in state 3 in the second position. Okay. So make sure you do that. If you're just doing it in the opposite, the option will be there. So that might be a wrong option. So make sure that you go in the order which is being asked in the question. Okay. Now moving on to the next set or the next question here. Okay. So what is the question is being asked? Compute the percentage of total electric cars to total cars in all the states. Okay. So you have to find the percentage. Okay. So we have to take the percentage of total electric cars and we have to compare it with total cars in all the states. So we as you know, we already know the total cars in all the states is what? 8,000. And now we have to just look for the data of total electric cars. Total electric cars means in all the states, obviously. So just moving to the previous data. Okay. So total electric cars, if we're just adding these 4 values here. So 150, so 600 plus 400 will give us 1000. Then 320 and 150. So that is going to give us 400, 450, 470. Okay. So that means 1470. Okay. Now just moving to the question. Okay. So yeah. So 1470 into 100. Okay. We have to just calculate this now. So 100 is common. Then a 10 is also common. So 147 by 8. If you're just dividing it, what we are going to get? So it is going to go for one time is going to give us 8. Now the remainder is 6. So 67 will come. 67, how many times it will go? 8 8s are 64. So 8 7s are has to come. Okay. So 8 7s are is 56. Okay. 8 7s are is 56. Okay. Now 56, what is the remainder then? Okay. So we are getting it 7 times. So 6. Okay. So 56. 6, sorry, we can go for 8 times, sorry, it is 67 as you can see. Okay, just, okay, so 1 times you will go, 67 means 8 8s are 64, okay, so 8 times you can go, so remainder will be 3, so we are just placing a point, we are getting 30, so if you see 8 3s are 24, so what we are getting 18.3, so 18.3 is there in the options. So we can place our answer as 18.37%. Okay, so easy question. Just if you are able to get the data from the passage, these questions are very easy. Okay, now moving on to the next one. Yeah, so another question is there. So what is the difference between the number of petrol cars in state 3 and diesel cars in state 1? They just ask the difference. Okay. So petrol cars in state 3 and diesel car in state 1. Okay. So diesel car state 1, petrol car state 3. Okay. So diesel car state 1, okay, and petrol car state 3. Okay. So they have just asked the difference of these values. So 1000 and 450. Okay. But it is going to give us a difference of 550. So easy question. Now just looking for the option here. Okay, so 550 is there in the option. Okay, so easy question. We can easily get the answer here as well. Okay. Okay. Another question: what is the average number of diesel cars in all the states? So the diesel cars average is being asked here. Okay. Now just going to the previous data. So we have to just find the diesel cars average. Okay. So diesel cars, as we can see, the total number is, as we know, what is the formula for average? Sum of observations by total. So we have to just add to get the sum. Diesel car, so 1400 to 1800 are there. So 1400 plus 1600 gives us 3000. Then adding a 450 is going to give us 3450. Okay. Now taking the average of that 3450 divided by 4, since we have taken 4 data, so we have to just divide it by going to the question once again. Yeah. Okay, so 3450, we are going to divide it by 4 to get the average. Okay, just dividing it, 4 8s are is 32. Okay, remainder is going to give us 2. So 25, how many times it will go? 25 means 4 6 are is 20. So 6 times it will go. Okay, just looking through the option, the first two values has to be 8 and 6. It is there in only one option, so that has to be our answer here. So option B, 862.5 is the final answer. Okay, I hope that you got it. Okay, so we have finished the first passage. I hope that you got it. Okay, just try to do it once again. I am pretty sure that you will be able to do that. Okay, so just try it out once again and get a brief idea of it. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to move to the second passage. So like in the first one, we are going to read it first and then try to get the data in a tabular form to do the questions which are following it. Okay. Now if we are just reading it like we did in the last one, the survey was conducted about the population of a particular region having working population of 3 lakhs. Okay. So they have given that working population there is 3 lakhs. Okay. And in the information was collected about self-employed persons, casual wage workers, regular salaries employees of both urban and rural region. Okay. Now self-employment is a key source of income in both rural and urban areas, but it is more prevalent in rural areas, as they have told. It is 56% of the rural population. Okay. self-employment is in rural areas, it is close to 56% of the population than in urban areas where it is only 40%. Okay. Now the rural population was 48% of total population, as they have told, and regular salaried workers in urban areas were 48% of the rural population, whereas in urban population, whereas in rural areas regular salaried workers constituted only 12% of the rural population. Okay. Now, during the survey, the casual wage workers were found to be more common in rural areas than in urban areas. So, the casual wage workers in rural areas were 32% of the rural population, whereas it was 12% of the urban population in urban areas. Okay, so I think you have got an idea just reading the passage at once. So what they have done is they have just compared the two regions of the population, that is the urban and the rural, and in that they have some categories as well. As we can see, we have a self-employed persons, how many are there in both the regions. Then they had set for regular salaried employees, and then they went for the casual wage workers. So we can start with the just fixing this data into a tabular form. So here, as we know, we have two categories, that is rural population, okay, and we have the urban population. Okay, now in that we have three categories, as we understood. We have the self-employed category, okay, then we had regular salaried persons, regular salary, then the last one was casual wage workers, okay, casual wage, okay, same constitutes for the urban as well, okay. So self-employed, okay, then regular salary, okay. Now the last one was casual workers. Yeah. Okay. Now we can find out the data one by one. So as we understood that they have told that the working population was 3 lakhs. So the total data here is 3 lakh, as we understood. Now in that, if I just reading it thoroughly, here they are told that okay, the self-employment is a key source of income in both the areas, and it is more prevalent in rural areas. So rural areas has 56% of this total population, okay, than in urban areas. In urban areas, it is only 40%. Okay. Now rural population, they have told is 48% of the total population. Okay. The rural population has the, what is the total population in that? 48% is rural. So we can find it out first. So we, as we know, the total data they have taken is 3 lakhs. Out of that, as we just read, 48% are, it has been said here, okay. Now 48% are what? Rural population. So we can just find it out. So 3 lakh, as we know, 3 lakh is what? 3 into 10 raised to 5. So it's 48%. Okay, cancelling out the zeros, we are going to get as 3 into 10 raised to 3. We're just multiplying it, 48 into 3 is basically what? 144 into 10 raised to 3. Okay, so that constitutes for 1,44,000. Okay, so we have understood that the total rural population here is 1,44,000. Okay, yeah, so we have got that. Now the remaining has to be for the urban population, okay, because we have only two set of populations here. So what you can do, you can just take the difference of take the difference of 3 lakhs and the rural population, or eitherwise find the 52% of 3 lakh. So either way you are going to get the answer. Okay, if you are just going for that sort of concept, 3 into 10 raised to 5 into 52 by 100, cancelling out the zeros is going to give us 10 raised to 3. Now 52 into 3 is what? 6. Oh, that is going to give us 1,56,000. Okay, so we understood that total urban population here is 1,56,000. Okay, yeah. So hope that you got it. So this is 1,44,000. This is 1,56,000. 56,000. If you're just adding this, this is going to give us what? 3 lakh. Okay, so that is been sorted out. Now, if you're just moving up, here it is being sold. Self-employment is a key source of income in both the rural and urban areas, and it is more prevalent in rural areas, which is 56% of the rural population. So, out of the total rural population, 56% are what? Self-employed people. Okay, they are being self-employed. So, that means they don't they have an separate source of income. Okay, they are not coming under this self-employed. Self-employed are there, casual and regular. These three are there. So they have already told that how much. Okay, self-employment is a key, and it is 56 percentage in case of rural. Okay, so as we know, the rural population is 1,44,000. So 56 percentage of that is going to give us the self-employed people in the rural areas. Okay, so we can just find it out. Okay, just going to rub it. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to find, so total rural population is 1,44,000. Of that, 56 percentage. Okay. So 56 percentage, just cancelling it out. What we are going to get, 1440 into 56. Okay, just multiplying it, 144 into 56. Okay, so there are many, just going into 5. So 5 times is going to give us 20, 22. Okay, so 720. 50 is going to give us 7,200. Okay, then 144 into 6, 24, 26, 6 plus 2, 8. Okay. Okay, so that is basically 8064. Okay, yeah. So 8064. Okay, where you just multiply a 0 as well. Okay, so that means 80,640 is the total number of self-employed people in the rural population. Okay, so that data we have already got. Then in rural areas, so rural areas it is 40% of the urban population, self-employed people. Okay, so as we know, urban population is 1,56,000. Out of that, 40%. Okay, now we can find it out for the urban population. Okay, so 40% of 1,56,000. Just cancelling out the hundreds. 156 into 40. Just multiplying it. 156 into 4, that is 24, 22, and 6. Okay. So it is into 40. So what is that is going to give us how much? Yeah, it is going to give us 62,400. Okay. So we understood that here the self-employed people are 62,400. It was here, it was in rural area, it was 80,640. Okay, 80,640. Okay, so that part is, I hope that it is clear. Now moving, just reading through the other sentences. In the next paragraph, they told regular salaried persons in the urban areas were 48% of the urban population. Okay, so regular salaried persons are how much? 48% of the urban population. Okay, so here they have told, okay, 48% of the urban population. So if you just finding it for the urban areas. Okay, so urban areas, as we know, total population here is 1,56,000. Now in that 48%. So just finding out for 48%. Okay, so cancelling out the hundreds. Now we have to multiply 156 into 40. Okay, so just multiplying it. Okay, so 48, then 40, 40 and 8 5 are 40, 6 4 are 24, plus 4 is going to give us 28. Okay. Okay. Now 20 plus 8, 28 plus 4 is going to give us 32. Okay. That part is over. Okay, 32. Okay. Okay, otherwise we can just. Okay, there are anyhow you can multiply. Which way is comfortable for you, you can just use it. Okay. So how I am going to do is, way I am going to just do it is 156 into 50 minus 156 into 2. So that will make my calculation a bit more easier. So 156 into 50 is easy. So 156 into 5. If I just multiplying it, 30, 28, 5 plus 1 is 6. So this is 6800 minus 156 into 2. So that is how much? 12, 11, 3, 312. Just cancelling or subtracting 6 from 6800, 312. So what we are going to get is 8, 8, 4, 6, 6, 4, 8, 8. Okay. So which is the data? Urban population. Okay. So urban population, regular salaried persons are how much? 64880. Okay, so we have a 0 as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have got that data as well. Okay, yeah. Now moving to the next one. Now in case of rural areas, they have told that the regular salaried persons are how much? Only 12% of the urban population. Okay, now we know the urban population is what? Urban population is 1,44,000 and we have to find 12% of that. Okay. So 1,44,000. Yeah. Okay. Now we have to just find out 12% of it. Okay. 12% of this value. Okay, just cancelling it out. So what we are going to get? Okay, so just finding it out. So 10% is going to give us. Okay, and like I said, you can just multiply it with 12. Otherwise, what I am going to do is, as we know, the 10% of this value is how much? 1,44,000 is a 44,000 is the value. So 10% of that is what? 14,400. Okay, so 14,400 is the 10 percentage, and then 2 percentage will be what? 1 percentage here is 144, so 2 percentage will be 288. Yeah. Okay, just adding that both values. So 88614. So 14688. Okay, this is the in case of a rural population 14,688. Okay, so that is the regular salaried persons in case of rural population. Okay, now moving on to the next point. Okay, now they have told about the casual wage workers. They have told that it is most commonly found in rural areas than in urban areas. Okay, so casual wage workers in the rural areas were 32% of the rural population. Okay, now casual wage are 32% of the rural population. Okay, now rural population, as we know, is 1,44,000. Okay, now in that value, okay, 1,44,000. Okay, now in that value, we have to find the value of how much? 32% of that. Okay, to find the value of 32%. Okay, so easily finding out, like in the last one, 10% of this value is what? 14,400. Okay, so 3 times of that is going to give us what? 144 into 3, 12, 12, 13, 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so that is yeah, so that is 43,200. Okay, now we have to find 2%. Okay, so 1% as we know is okay, 1440. Okay, now 2 times of that is going to give us 2880. So 10, 5, 6, 4. Okay. So 46,080. Okay. So here it will be, it was for rural population. Okay. So 46,080. Okay. Now in case of casual workers in urban population, it is only 12%. Okay. Now 12% of 15,600. Sorry, 1,56,000. Okay. Okay. We have to find 12% of that. Okay. 12%. So same like in the last concept you can use. So 10% is 15,600. 10% is sorry 1% here is 1560. So 2% has to be double of that. So 1560 2 times is what? 3000 and 3120. Okay, 3000. Okay, just adding it 02781. Okay, so it will come as 18,720. Okay, so what we have done is we have found out all the values. Okay, so just if you can just cross check if all the three sums here, the three sums has to be equivalent to 1,44,000. Okay, okay, another zero is there. Okay, here the sum has to be equivalent to 1,56,000. Okay, so you just can cross check it if you are getting the same value in both the situations. Okay, so that will make your calculation, or you can just cross check it if you are having the time in the exam. Otherwise, you can go with this data. No worries. Okay, anyhow, you are going to get the same value. Okay, now just moving on to the. Okay, now we can just discuss a few questions which are there here. So, first question, what they are told, by what percentage is the number of self-employed workers in rural areas more than the number of self-employed workers in urban areas? So, percentage wise they have told, this what percentage. Okay, so just going back to the data, self-employed workers. Okay, now in rural areas there were 80,640. In urban areas it was 62,400. Okay, so data is a bit confusing. Okay, just write it down once. Okay, 80,640 in case of rural. In case of urban it was, okay, in case of urban it was 62,400. Okay, 62,400. Okay. Now we had discussed this percentage more concept in the last passage. So what was the formula? Percentage more. First take the difference of the two values. So 80,640 we have to reduce 62,400 from that. So what we are going to get? So 640 and 400 is going to give us 240. Then 80,000 and 62,000 is going to give us 18,000. So 18,240. Okay, divided by the value which comes after than here is urban. So urban, that is 62,400 has to be in the denominator part into 100. Okay, okay, so we can just calculate this now. So 10 is common, okay, 100 is common basically. You can just divide these two values now. Okay, so what we are going to get? So 18,240 divided by 624. Okay, so you can just cancel out for the common values as well. Anyhow you can do. Okay, if you're just cancelling out with the common value, that I think will make it a bit more easier. So what all terms are common here? 6 is common. Okay, so 6 3s are is 18. Then okay, 6 3s are is 18. Then 0 will come. 4 times is 24. So 3040. Here what we are going to get is 1 0 and 4. Okay, now I think you can divide it. Otherwise you can divide it with 2 as well. So that is 1 times 5, 1520 divided by 52. Okay, now we can just divide it 1050 by 52. So how many times it will go? 3 times is not possible. Okay, so 2 times. So see, the option which is starting with 2 is first option only. So the answer has to be 29.23%. Okay. So the extra time which you are taking is because of the data. Data is a bit more complex here, so that's why we are taking a bit more time here. Okay, yeah. Now moving to the next question, we can now do the questions quickly. Okay, so the next question is, what is the ratio of urban and rural working population? Okay, we have to just take the ratio of both the one. Working population. So working population basically, as we had already seen, working population here is 1,44,000. Here it is 1,56,000. Okay, so just take the ratio. Okay, so in one side it is urban to rural. Okay, so that is 1,56,000 here. Here it is 1,44,000. Okay, so cancel out the 1,000 part. Now in 156 and 144, 12 is common. Okay, so this will go 13 times. This will go 12 times. Okay, so we are getting the answer here as well. So the answer here is option C, that is 13 is to 12. Okay, now moving on to the next one. Okay, now here they have given a condition. If the urban population of the region increase from 52 to 56 percentage and the percentage of self-employed in the urban region remains same. Okay, then the number of self-employed people in the urban areas are. They have given a condition in the starting, as we had said in the passage, they had given that 52 percentage are the urban population. Okay, now they are told that the urban population has increased from 52 to 56. Okay, now it has been increased to 56 percentage. Okay, and the now percentage of self-employed is the same. The percentage wise the value hasn't changed. So we have to find when it comes to 56 percentage, what is the number of self-employed people in the urban area. Okay, so as we know, the total population was 3 lakhs, 3 into 10 raised to 5 as we can take. Okay. Then now it has become 56%. So 56 percentage of this value. Okay. Now if we just cross checking for the self-employed in urban areas. Okay. So what was the percentage? Just go through the data once again. Self-employed in urban. Okay. Self-employed. Okay. In urban region. Okay. Okay, so urban region it was 40 percentage. Okay, yeah. So they have told in the question that that percentage hasn't changed. So percentage is the same. Okay. So this value is 40 percentage. Is what we have to find. Okay. Now easy calculation here. See, 10 raised to 4 is there. We can cancel it out. So the remaining 110 is there. Now just multiply these values. Okay. So what we have, 3 into 56 into 40. Okay. So 3 into 4 is, or 40 is 120. So this is basically 56 into 120 into 10. So we have a 10 here as well. Okay. So 10 is remaining. Just multiply it now. 56 into 12. Okay, just multiply 12, 10, 16, 17. 5 plus 1 is 6. Okay, so 67,200 will be your answer. Okay, just looking in the options, we have the answer here as option D, that is 67,200. Okay, so easy question, just we needed to understand the question what they had asked here. Okay, so hope that you got this as well. Moving on to the next one. Now what the question here is, what is the total number of regular salaried employees of the region? Okay, so regular salaried employee of the region means both the regions. Okay, urban plus rural, we have to find the sum of that. Okay, so regular salaried people. So moving, just going to the data once again. Yeah, okay, so regular salaried people. So here it is 14,688. Here it is 64,880. Just adding both the values. So 64,880 plus 14,688. Just adding both the values. So 8, 16, 14 plus 1 is 15. Here will come 9. So we are getting 79,568. Okay, just going for the options. Okay, so we are getting 79,000 something. Okay, the option they have given is 90, 91, 92 and 96. Okay. Just going back once again. Regular salary people. Okay. Okay, so have we done a mistake anywhere? 64 it was here. Here it is 14,000. Okay. So regular salary, just going cross checking it. So regular salaried people was 12. So 12 percentage here. Okay. So that is not an issue there. Urban it was 48 percentage. Okay. Okay. So I think there is a mistake in the option part. Okay. So the value has to be around 79,000. Okay. So 79,000. Just going back to the options. Okay. So 79,560. Okay. So I think there is a. Okay. So 79,568 has to be the answer. Okay. Yeah. Now moving on to the next question. Okay, now here what they have asked is, what is the percentage of regular salaried employees in the rural areas corresponding to the number of casual wage workers in the urban areas? Okay, so percentage they have asked. Okay, so regular salaried people in the rural to the casual wage workers in the urban. Okay, so regular salaried in rural to casual in urban. Okay, so just going back to the data. So regular salaried in rural areas. Okay. Okay. So regular salaried in rurals, we just find it out. It was 14,688. Okay. 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 So 14,688. Okay. Now we are comparing it with number of casual wage workers in the urban areas. Okay. So casual wage in urban. Okay. Okay. Casual wage in urban. Okay. Casual wage workers in the urban area. So that is how much? 18,700. 18,720. Okay. Okay, so I think you can find out the data. Okay, so this has to be. Yeah. So this will correspond to how much? Just cancelling out the values. Okay, so 10 is common. Just a second. Okay, so this is how much? 14,680 divided by 1872. Okay, so how much times it will go? Okay, so a bit more calculation here as well. So we just see, so start, the first digit here is 7, 8, 9. Okay, first we can go for 7 times. Okay, 1872 into 7. So it will give us 14, 49, 50, 56, 61. Then 7 plus 6 is going to give us 30. Okay, so most probably it has to be 7. Okay, just cross check for 8 times as well. 8 times is going to give us 16, 56, 57, 14, 1497. No. Okay, so it will be 7 times itself. Okay, so 7 times is what? 13104. Okay, just taking the difference here, 510. So 15840. Okay, So the option starting with 7 is 2, 72.3 and 79.8. So it is obvious it has to be going with 9 times. Okay. So we can just mark the answer here as option B, that is 79.8 percentage will be the answer. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Okay. So here what they are told, if 60 percentage of the total working population of the region were self-employed, the condition it is in rural areas, and 40 percentage of the total population were self-employed in urban areas. Okay. Then what will be the ratio of rural self-employed to the urban self-employed? Okay. So they have given a condition that if the total working population of the region, okay, 60% of the total working population were self-employed in urban, and in case of in case of rural, in case of urban, 40% of the total population were self-employed in urban. In case of urban, so what would be the ratio that they have asked? Okay, so already we know in case of rural areas, what was the total population of working population? It was 1,44,000. Okay, now they are saying that of that working population, 60 percentage are, if 60 percentage self-employed. Okay, so we will just find 60 percentage of this one. Now, in case of urban, as we know, 1,56,000 is the number of working population. They are told 40 percentage of that has to be what? 40% of the total population were self-employed. Okay, so 40 percentage of this. So we have to just find the ratio of these two values. Okay, so just cancel out the common terms here. 1000 is common, as we can see. 10 is common here. 100 is common below. Okay. Then 144 and 156 we already did. 12 is common in both the terms. So we are here we are getting 13, and here we are getting, here we are getting 12, and here we are getting 13. Okay. Now anything common? Okay. Now if we just see, 12 is common. Okay, now anything common other than that? Yeah, 6 and 4 we have a common of 2. So 3 and 2. Okay, again a 2, 6. So we are here, this side we are getting 18, and this side we are getting 30. Okay, so we have the option here. The option here is option D, that is 18 is to 30. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that you got the second passage here. So here it was, in the case, the calculation part was a bit challenging, but here as well, if you are just following the things that they have given in the passage, you can easily do all the questions. Okay, so I hope that you got the second passage as well.